I'm super excited to host you today for a very special discussion on SaaS. Obviously, some key trends, challenges, actionable insights we'll take from here, some leadership, and everything in between. So maybe I'll start with saying a little bit about yourself and hand it over to you. But Chris is the Vice President of Global Cyber at WWT and brings over 27 years of cybersecurity experience, which Chris might just give away your age a little, but sorry about that. I
Thanks.
really want to say thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and let's kick things off. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself and WWT?
Yeah, no, happy to do it. And first of all, it's an honor to be here with you today. And I think it's a very important topic that many of our customers are talking about today more than ever before. So it's a real honor to be here and look forward to the dialogue. And as you said, I'm the Vice President of Global Cyber at WWT, so Worldwide Technology. So I have overall responsibility for creating and executing our go-to-market strategy around all things cybersecurity. I've been at the company now for fast approaching 11 years, and as you said, been in cyber now for almost 3 decades, and that just means I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot change, but unfortunately, I've seen a lot stay the same when it comes to cybersecurity, and just look forward to the conversation today.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. It will be an interesting one for sure. And I think we can start with, really the opening at the beginning about SaaS, right? SaaS is it's not new, but in the past few years, it's really booming,
Right.
skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think is the biggest security risk that organization need to handle and solve today because of it?
It's a really good question. I think, and there's a lot that our customers are currently dealing with today, in addition to SaaS. As I just said a second ago, been in the industry now for almost 3 decades, but I think this right now, this period of time that we're in is pretty unprecedented. It's unprecedented in the terms of the amount of innovation that's taking place when it comes to security, but it's also unprecedented in the amount of things that a chief information security officer has to deal with every day. So attack services are growing, threat groups are increasing, cyber crime today is at an all-time high. And there are thousands of different security vendors that organizations need to deal with. And then you add on top of that a shortage of skilled resources. You add on top of that everybody trying to deal with AI. And it's a lot for organizations to have to deal with today.
Yes, AI made a huge difference, right? But still understanding how to handle it, what's the bad that comes with the good, and how
Right.
organization think about it. Do you have any insights or any thoughts? Like it's a huge topic. We can have just a session on this specifically, but any like one or two takeaways that you want to share?
From an AI standpoint,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I think I go back a year ago when I look at just AI security in general. I think we were on the outside looking in, trying to be a part of the conversation and have just to get in and have just general awareness sessions with our customers. And I think now worldwide is, I think, leading AI security in the marketplace today. It's probably one of the top two topics that our customers are trying to understand, not only about securing the AI model, but also making sure that the usage of AI is done securely. And then also, how do we secure with AI? And that's the three areas in which we focus on for that.
Mhm. We'll touch on the usage versus security later today, but
Yeah.
SaaS is not new as mentioned, right? It's not something in the past 2 or 3 or 5 years, but and you've seen things that have progressed versus things that have stayed. What do you think was the biggest change in the SaaS security landscape over the past few years?
Yeah, I think it's a few things, to be honest with you. I think number one, the attack surface has expanded, so leading to a shift towards zero trust security models. And candidly, it's one of the top three requests that we get from our customers today around that. There's more regulatory scrutiny and compliance demands than ever before. And now you add on top of that a new administration that we can expect some more ads, we can some changes to all the various regulations and standards and frameworks. I mentioned at the top of this podcast about cyber crime. So cyber criminals are targeting SaaS platforms much more aggressively through different types of vectors, whether it's phishing or credential attacks. And I think maybe last, just the increased reliance on SaaS applications post-pandemic. And just with the balance of remote work, accelerated adoption, hybrid environments that people have, there's more reliance than ever before.
Yes, pandemic, we still, I think a lot of us forgot about it in the past year, right? It's not, but we still see the effect, what is caused and like the outcome of it. And SaaS is definitely one that was impacted the most. Where do you actually see that most enterprises go wrong when it comes to SaaS security or like securing the usage of SaaS applications?
Yeah, when I look at this, I guess there's an old saying that you can outsource the task, but you can't outsource the responsibility. And
Yes.
I think that too many people, too many organizations rely on native security controls that are provided by SaaS vendors. I think also there's just too many people relying on or assuming that identity-based security, whether it's single sign-ons or MFA, it's good enough. And then I think underestimating insider threat. For whatever reason, people tend to ignore the insider threat and just not properly keeping the right levels of visibility and monitoring user access and activity. I mean, it all comes down to some basic fundamentals. And I think a lot of people just get away from that. I mean, you and I have discussions sometimes just around basic hygiene that organizations need to do, and it's just not enough. And so just the lack of rigor, the lack of continuous monitoring, understanding where there's misconfigurations, it all adds up to um, some issues for sure.
I couldn't agree more. Like you touched about on a few points that are really defining the problem, right? If I
Right.
think one that you mentioned was that you talk, and I think I had these goals and you had them for sure when you talk to security leaders says, well, we have SSO or MFA enforced for a SaaS
Mhm.
application, then they think that they've done enough, right? But then we realize that just the beginning. That's like the basic, and the basic is just not enough today when we've made such a progress and it's much more mature today and so on. But if you could give one advice, what would you say to security leaders that really still struggling with the security around these kind of applications?
Well, you talk about visibility. We just mentioned that. I mean, you can't measure what you can't see. You can't protect what you can't see. And so that to me, that's number one. Um, you have to be able to do that. So implement some form of just continuous monitoring of SaaS applications that's going to go a long way. We just talked about identity access management. So enforce least privileged access and automated access reviews. You have to do that. And so, I mean, there are others that come to mind, such as misconfiguration management, obviously is important. Automation, you have to have that in this day and age. If you're not automating many of the mundane tasks that you have to do every day, it's a problem. And so think about automation use cases and how we can leverage that.
Automation, maybe drill down for a sec about it. Everyone wants to automate everything, right? that's everyone's goal. But eventually, in reality, in practice, we see that's a challenge, right? It's still not 100% or not even close. What do you think can make the change here?
I think, as I said a minute ago, around some of the basics and fundamentals. And if you don't have a clean environment, you don't have the right policies and procedures and standards and guidelines and the right rigor, it's tough to automate because then you're just going to automate junk. And so I think if you have the right foundations, you understand what levels of risk you're operating at, and you look at various tasks that you know and use cases that you can replicate pretty quickly with automation, and then go tackle one or two of those first. And then once you do that, then you start working on other use cases. But you have to clean things up first. You have to have the right visibility in place. You have to have the right, misconfiguration management controls in place. And once you do, then you can start thinking about how can I do that better with automation.
Yeah, starting with the one, then the second, and then clearing things one by one probably is, I think the right approach and what helps the most. You mentioned at the beginning the usage part, right? So how do you think about the balance between usability and security? Because SaaS is driven by business, right?
100%.
Business users that adopt the application for the day-to-day, which is great, and security is enabler these days. How do you find this balance? What do you think of it?
Well, I mean, it's the security team's job to be an enabler and not to be the office of no. I've been saying that for decades. So security shouldn't slow productivity. And the goal should be and should be all about to enable secure adoption and not block it. And it's just like with AI, it's just like obviously we want to empower people to leverage it. We just need to make sure that the right guardrails are in place to make sure that we're operating at the right risk levels.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, right? How do we do it securely, but we allow the continuity and allow everyone to get their day-to-day and execute. So no one wants to get an email from someone and that realize they blocked the business process. So we need this context. I think context is very, very important in this part. I can say that from my experience, SaaS security really complements other security areas, right? We talk a lot about other technologies and emerging technologies. So from my perspective, SaaS complements the cloud security and data security areas. What's your point of view on this?
From like an emerging standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there's probably a handful of different things that maybe come right to the top of mind. So we've been talking about throughout this session is AI and ML driven security analytics. So detecting anomalies faster. That's certainly number one. Number two, as we've been saying throughout this discussion, automated SaaS security posture management for continuous risk assessment. Clearly, what you all do very well. Non-human identity to prevent things like supply chain vulnerabilities. Um, Other areas, and again, real big for WWT is just around helping organizations figure out how they want to do zero trust. So zero trust adoption, enforcing continuous authentication beyond just login. So that's an area. And then maybe just last is just integration of SaaS security with broader cloud security strategies. So whether it's CNAPP or CASB and some of the others. Those are the ones that really just come to top of mind.
I think the consolidation question is
Yeah,
spoken recently, right? So the together and the understanding of how each technology complements each other, I think that's
for
like
sure.
you as WWT brings in a very broad perspective, right? You think about the plan, you look at a bigger picture, and I think you as a market leader and Suri Data is as a SaaS security provider, I think that we bring in a very strong offering, right, as partners to any enterprise that really works on improving their security posture. What excites you about this partnership, or what do you find it as unique? Uh,
Yeah, I could probably go on for about 20 minutes on this topic by itself, but I think you complete our cloud security strategy. And so I'm excited about the partnership. When you think about WWT, we're, a 35-year-old company, 20 billion in top line revenue, a $4.5 billion cybersecurity business. And we have a tagline here at Worldwide where we focus not on selling a security outcome, but an outcome that is secure. And with security embedded into everything that we do and everything that we sell, whether it's AI, cloud, infrastructure, data center. So it just gives us a much broader perspective than most partners.
Mhm.
And so we have helped organizations design and implement security strategies. We've helped secure 82 of the Fortune 100. And again, what I get excited about the partnership is that Suradata provides cutting edge SaaS security solutions. So offering that automation, the visibility at the scale that our large customers really demand. And I think together we can give organizations the control over their SaaS environments really without disrupting their day-to-day productivity, to be honest with you. So I just, again, you complete our overall cloud security strategy.
I love it. And I'll also add that I love the DNA. We're a startup, you're a very mature organization, enterprise, but still we share the hungry to succeed together, to change the industry, to make an impact on enterprises. And that's part of it, I think. I think maybe my last question would be any advice, any insight for security leaders that really navigating through securing this kind of area of SaaS or SaaS and cloud or any advice that would be helpful.
Yeah, no, happy to do that. I guess just don't assume that SaaS vendors handle security for you. As I mentioned earlier, just you can you can outsource the task, but you can't outsource the responsibility. So you need proactive security controls. And I'm a big believer in the basics and the fundamentals and being really great at that. So visibility to me is the foundation. I mean, you know this. You can't secure what you can't see, and we've been talking about that throughout. Manual security reviews won't scale with SaaS growth. So let's try to figure out what you can automate with that. And as we said earlier, I mean, we shouldn't be the office of no. Security should enable, not block. So the goal really is to empower teams to work securely. And at Worldwide, we have a theme called Secure Altogether. And so when you take a look at everything that we've talked about throughout this podcast, it takes a team effort. Um, and if we have any chance of winning, and I know you like to win, and winning against this adversary, we need to secure altogether. And again, with your offering plus some of the other larger partnerships that we have, you complement those really well. And I think every organization needs to evaluate, sit down and say, hey, what are we doing to complete our cloud security strategy and make sure this is an area they take a look at.
Amazing. Chris, that's the time to say thank you again. I'm confident that many people will learn a lot from your perspective and experience. And thank you so much for sharing. It has been great, and we'll keep the collaboration and see some success together. And I really appreciate your inputs and your time. So
Yeah,
thank you
it
so
was
much.
great to be here and look forward to the next time.
Amazing. Thank you.